Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Last time we broke down the track Fuck You Ethnicity, but today we're breaking down Hol'up and ADHD in one video. I'm really excited to break down these songs with you, so be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Now let's get into the second track of the album, Hol'up. So we're going to do a quick breakdown of Hol'up, a song that's light on layers but heavy on entertaining storytelling. We won't spend much time on this one as we are really here to break down ADHD, but I want to give you guys a quick summary of this catchy but controversial track before we dive into the main track. So before we dive into Hol'up, I want to tell you guys a bit about the sample used on the track, and it was recorded in 1974 by jazz musician Dick Walter. Story of a brief encounter he had between him and a flight attendant.
I wrote this record while 30,000 feet in the air. Stewardess complimenting me on my nappy hair.
Basically, the whole song serves as a commentary on the complexities of race, sex, and power in America.
If I can fuck her in front of all of these passengers, they'll probably think I'm a terrorist.
He explores the intersection of race, gender, and power through the lens of sexually charged encounter between a black rapper and a white flight attendant. And that's Hol'up by Kendrick Lamar in a nutshell. Now let's get into the more complex track, ADHD. The track ADHD samples The Nighthawk by The Age of Tomorrow.
Fuck that. 8 doobies to the face. Fuck that.
It's a laid-back track that perfectly matches the chill atmosphere on the track. So, the third track on the album is a commentary on the prevalence of drug abuse in his generation. He displays a deep understanding of drug culture and how drugs affect the brain, which he uses to highlight the dangers and consequences of drug abuse. Despite his knowledge, he recognizes the negative impact drugs have had on his community, and he reflects on the regret that comes with it. This song serves as a cautionary tale, urging listeners to be aware of the impact drugs can have on their lives and their commitment. Kendrick is basically saying that he understands why people in his generation have this ADHD mentality. It's not that they're lazy or don't care, but they've been influenced by the world around them. The 2 pills and a half weight is basically a reference to the number of drugs that someone with ADHD might take to treat their symptoms. Kendrick is saying instead of taking this dosage of drug, he's saying fuck that. He's using this specific dosage as an example of how people are being treated with drugs instead of looking at what's causing the problem in the first place. It's his way of saying that we need to address the root cause of ADHD instead of just medicating people.
Got a high tolerance when your age don't exist.
This is some clever wordplay by Kendrick. The line, got a high tolerance when your age don't exist, is a homophone for the letter H don't exist. This is referring to the fact that ADHD is often shortened to ADD, or attention deficit disorder. Kendrick is saying that people who don't have the hyperactivity component of ADHD may be more likely to tolerate their youth or to engage in risky behavior like partying or using drugs. As I said him in cold water, he's using a homophone for acetaminophen, which is a common over-the-counter painkiller. And then he compares that for his generation. The weaker painkillers are not enough to ease the pain. They need stronger stuff. So he's hinting at a cold water extraction process where people dissolve Vicodin in cold water in order to isolate the hydrocodone or the opiate from the acetaminophen, which can be harmful to the liver in large doses.
You know when you're part of Section 8 and you make you stronger.
In this part of the verse, Kendrick is talking about the idea how people from his generation are victims of circumstances. They've been affected by things they had no control over. He uses marijuana as an example of how some people from his generation use drugs to cope with the pressures of the environment. The endorphins make you stronger part might be a reference to the idea that some people believe cannabis can help with mental health issues like depression or bipolar disorder.
I'm in the house party tripping off my generation, sipping cough syrup, black as water. never no pancakes in the kitchen.
This is a play on words when Kendrick says cough syrup like it's water. He's referring to the fact that some people drink cough syrup which contains codeine like water to get high. But then he compares that with never no pancakes in the kitchen. It's like he's saying that his generation is more interested in getting high of cough syrup than enjoying a wholesome breakfast.
Man, not one of our lives is caught up in the daily superstition that the world is but the end. Gives a fuck, we never do listen.
In these lines, he's talking about the end of the world superstition that was super popular at the time. He's saying that instead of taking the possibility seriously, a lot of people in his generation were using it as an excuse to go crazy. They figured if the world was ending, why not party hard and do whatever they wanted?
Unless it comes with an 808, a melody and some house, PlayStation and some drink, technology bought my soul.
He's basically saying that his generation isn't too concerned with what's going on in the world unless it's set to a catchy beat and some hot women in beautiful outfits. Basically, if it's not a fun, flashy music video, a lot of people won't pay attention. He's pointing out how his generation's constant use of technology like those drum machines may be causing them to have shorter attention spans and less in the real world around them.
Looking around and all I see is a big crowd that's product of me and it probably relatives relevant for a rebel stream. Yep.
In this part, Kendrick is basically saying that while his generation might be caught up in the distractions like drugs and technology, he's been working hard in creating art that his fans love. When Kendrick says those people might be relatives relevant for a rebel stream, he's likely referring to the fans of his movement, which is a part of the larger high power movement that he often talks about. This is also a shout out to Bob Marley's album A Rebel's Dream, which emphasizes that we're all connected and that our struggles are interconnected.
Like her president is black, she black, purple label on her back, but that dab is like.
Kendrick is pointing out that while there are black people like Barack Obama who have succeeded in achieving power, there are many other black people who are still struggling with inequality. The phrase, her president is black and she's black too, is a sharp reminder that the challenge of black Americans don't just disappear because of one successful black person. The purple label on her back could be a reference to the Ralph Lauren purple label clothing brand that sells super expensive items. The girl is wearing something from that label, but then he says the top is light blue, which is a slang for LSD. So he's saying that while this girl is fashionable, she's also making irresponsible choices like spending too much money on clothes and taking powerful drugs.
She take it straight to the head, then she look at me, she got ADHD.
This line connects the reckless girl with ADHD, which is probably an excuse for her to take Adderall. In these lines, he's talking about how kids from his generation or the Section 80 generation have been diagnosed with ADHD and given drugs since they were children, so they're the first generation to grow off medication.
And then she started.
In the first lines of the second verse, when Kendrick says, and then she started, he's leaving the listeners hanging, making you wonder what she started.
And then she started feeling the stuff like no one else in this apartment.
And then he fills in the details about the Adderall, which make it seem like that's what she started. The fact that he doesn't actually say it outright keeps it interesting and make the listeners think. So the unfinished sentence could be a metaphor for all the drugs being abused at the party. It's like there are so many drugs being used that Kendrick can't even finish the sentence about what this girl started taking. And the fact that she's feeling herself and no one else in the apartment can mean that she's feeling really good but also kind of disconnected from everyone else because she's on a different level.
I beg your pardon, oh I rap. Why you say that?
The term crack baby is a reference to the crack epidemic of the 1980s. So when the girl says, we are crack babies, it makes sense because Kendrick and the girl are around the same age. And Kendrick asking why she said that is a great example of how he's disconnected from the harsh reality of his surroundings, which is a running theme in the song. Kendrick is sort of tuning out the chaos around him, which is typical of someone with ADHD. He doesn't want to think about the fact that the cops are being called to the party, and he distracts himself by getting cozy with the girl. And then later on, when she brings up the whole crack baby thing again, which is a reminder that their generation has had to deal with some tough stuff. So even when Kendrick is trying to forget about it, the reality of their lives is still there, just under the Tubo is a more feminine drink, and Kendrick is playing on the fact that this girl will be more open when she's drinking it. He's implying that she might start telling him secrets or things she normally wouldn't share because the alcohol is making her more comfortable. But also he's suggesting that the alcohol is making her more open in a physical sense too, like she might be more willing to have sex with him.
It's nothing we
that Bay Area, he's not just talking about the San Francisco Bay Area. I think he's referencing the Emerald Triangle, which is a region just north of San Francisco, which is known for its liberal culture and its marijuana production. And when he says Kush or OG Kush, he's referring to the type of cannabis that's popular among rappers, especially in the West Coast. So this was my breakdown for ADHD by Kendrick Lamar. My next breakdowns will be diving deep into No Makeup in Tammy's song. So be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss out. It's been your boy Yap. Until then, peace.